Hey everybody, welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about Eternals once again, but this time in spoiler-filled form. So, if you have not watched Eternals, which has just released this past weekend, click off the video, go watch the film, and come back, because we are going to be talking about spoilers. So, you have been warned, we are talking about in-depth spoilers. So, let's talk. Alright, so In spoiler talk, again, I think I'm going to reiterate what I said from my non-spoiler review. Again, I really did like the movie. I don't ultimately think... Oh my god, and there I go again saying ultimately. I know I said in the first review that I would stop saying that word. As I said in my first review, I really like the movie. I think it's going to end up not being at the top of my list when it comes to all 26 of the MCU movies. I think it's going to be more near the bottom of my list. But again, that doesn't mean that it is a bad movie, because I don't think this is a bad movie by any stretch or imagination. This is not a bad movie. And I think really every person that says that it is a bad movie, again, I think they're totally allowed to think that way, and they're totally allowed to have that opinion when it comes to this film. But I don't see it in this movie. I don't see the badness that is Eternals. I don't see what these people are talking about, especially with a lot of the criticisms that they mentioned, to where they say it's boring, they say that it's dull and bland, that the acting is terrible, that there's not a single good actor. One guy I saw, he said that there's not a single actor who is in any way, shape, or form good in this movie. And I'm just sitting here like, what movie did you watch? I mean, seriously. What movie did you watch? Now, I think I can see where some of the criticisms for the acting, I can see where they're coming from, but if I had to judge and criticize the acting, I wouldn't even say that that is the fault of the actors, because the more I thought about it after doing my non-spoiler review, I think the acting in certain parts where it felt like it was very off, I think that had to do with the direction from Chloe Zhao, and I don't think she had the tightest directing when it came to directing actors in this movie, because she's more of a director that I feel is known for doing more slower paced films, which of course, if you don't know this, Chloe Zhao is the famed Oscar-winning director for the film Nomadland, which won the Oscar last year for the 2020 Oscars. That movie, of which I have not seen, by the way, I have not seen Nomadland. It is a very, very slow movie from what I hear, and it is very much it's a very much acting-driven type film, and I don't think that her style of directing again, oh my god, I'm saying ultimately again. I don't think her style of directing fit as much in this movie as to a movie like Nomadland. I think her directing in Nomadland is probably really, really superb. Her directing here when it comes to a Marvel movie, when she's known for directing these slower types of movies that are, not meant to have all this action and all that, I think maybe it collides in a way to where it doesn't work all the time. And that is somewhat of a criticism. It's a very, very small criticism at that. But I don't think that takes over the entire film to where it's just so adamantly bad. I think every actor in this movie, by far, every single actor in this movie is good. They are good, all right? There is no denying that. Seriously. Again, I saw somebody, this same person, say that a guy like Kumail Nanjiani was terrible in this movie. And I'm just sitting here like, okay, dude, now I think you're just trying to play jokes, because Kumail Nanjiani honestly might have just carried this movie, along with his agent, or his assistant, who is played by an actor named Harish Patel. These two on screen are by far some of the funniest, bring some of the funniest comedy that we have ever had in the MCU, and I will firmly stand by that. Their comedy together on screen was hilarious, and I don't even think enough people are even talking about Harish Patel, the actor who plays his assistant. I don't think enough people are even talking about him. He was hilarious. He was so funny, and me and my buddies who I saw it with, we were dying laughing at a lot of their jokes. So to say that Kumail Nanjiani was terrible in this movie, I think is unbelievably ridiculous. That's such a terrible criticism that just, it doesn't make sense. It's ridiculous. So yeah, the acting is good. The directing was it was okay. The directing is okay. I don't think this is in any way superb directing. The directing from Chloe Zhao is just okay. The action, which I forgot to talk about in my non-spoiler, I think the action is I think the action is shot very, very well. The action at times did seem like it was a little bit hard to concentrate on. It wasn't shaky cam, but there were times where it felt like the action did lose focus at times, but not all the time. I thought the action for the majority of the film was really, really good. And from the way it was shot, that was the best part about it, was the way that the movie was shot. And of course, we knew that Chloe Zhao was shooting a lot of this movie in real light and like real environments. A lot of this movie is not entirely on green screen. Yes, there's obviously a lot of green screen in the movie and CGI used and visual effects used to help like make the movie look like the way it does, but in the end, a lot of it is, practical. A lot of it is in on-set environments, without like sound stages. So I thought that was something that really excelled in the film, that you could really tell they did a good job with. I thought the CGI and the visual effects, I thought it was all really good. Aside from maybe one thing that does happen in the post-credit scene, which we will talk about, of course, because this is a spoiler review. So let's just go down the list again. Yeah, all the actors, good. Angelina Jolie, Kit Harington, Richard Madden, Gemma Chan, Salma Hayek, Don Lee, Kumail Nanjiani, Barry Keoghan, Leah McHugh, and then Lauren Ridloff and Brian Tyree Henry, who are all playing the Eternals in the movie. They're all really good. I thought every one of their characters was developed very well. Maybe not more than any other in entirely, because there are some Eternals that do get more development than others. There are some that don't get as much development as, say, others, like I just said. Like, for example, Barry Keoghan's Druig. He is probably the one Eternal in the movie that I would say... Actually, you know what? I don't even say him. I would say Lauren Ridloff. I would say Lauren Ridloff's Makari. She is probably the one that gets maybe not that much development. She really does not get that much development for her Eternal. Of course, one of the things that is so unique about her as an actor and as her character, she's deaf in the movie. She can't hear, so she has to use sign language. So that's a cool aspect to her character, and she did bring some very interesting acting chops to that too. There were some good moments with her. She is, of course, the one that is basically the Flash for the Eternals. She's like the Flash. She runs very, very fast. And every one of these Eternals has all different types of powers. Like a guy like Phastos, for example, played by Brian Tyree Henry. He is the engineer and like the guy who makes everything. They're all their weapons. He's that kind of guy. And so everyone has their own different kinds of powers. And I thought that was really interesting and cool. Now, to get into the plot of the entire movie, I thought that the movie was, when it comes to a story perspective, I thought it was interesting. And I know there's a lot of people out there that say that it was a very boring plot and that it just didn't go anywhere. And again, I really have to disagree with that. I really do not understand people's criticisms when it comes to the plot in the story. I thought it did something interesting and new that we hadn't seen before, because and again, I know everybody's going to say that the villains are not the best. And look, I'll be straight up honest. I don't think the villains are the greatest in this movie either. I think you can't really... there's not a villain in the entire movie who is inherently interesting. I'll say, and again, spoiler talk, the Celestials. Yes, you heard it right. That's one of the main twists of the movie. The Celestials are the main big bads in this movie. And there is another big bad who I will talk about in a second. But so yeah, the Celestials, who are the ones who created the Eternals, they are the bad guys. And you probably never would have thought that going in. But the main one, who is called Arishem, the judge, who's like the main Celestial, he is seen throughout the movie, and he is... I'm not going to say he's scary, but he is a presence. He is a presence on screen when you see him, and I thought that was really cool. His design as well, the design of this Celestial, it's kind of dope, I'm not going to lie. And that is essentially who they have to stop in the end of the film, is this giant Celestial that apparently is inside of the Earth, and if it is awakened, it will destroy the entire planet. And that's kind of cool, I'm not going to lie. I thought that was kind of interesting, even if not a lot of people found it to be... like pulling them in, that's the plot of the film, that they have to stop this giant thing inside the Earth that will explode it. I mean, I get it in a way. And there's also the Deviants. The Deviants are these like giant monsters, these giant CGI monsters who were probably the weakest part of the film, I would say. Again, there's no development to any of these things because they're just monsters. There's nothing to them really. One of them, however, there is one that does spring up and spring out in a way and kind of develops as, not as a character, but as who it is. The Deviants as a monster, they kind of evolve. And there's one that does evolve and play a part in the movie, but in the end, he's kind of dealt with and he doesn't make it to the end. And I thought that was kind of like a waste in some cases. I thought they could have done a little bit more with that to make it seem like it made more sense to why that even needed to be included in the film. But Arishem was the big one, and that's the one I think more people probably would have cared about. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there was another big bad, and that is Icarus. Yes, again, we're talking spoilers. Icarus. He's a bad guy. And that is maybe the biggest twist of the entire film. I do not think anybody probably saw him being the bad guy. Now, apparently in the comics, there's apparently a comic run that apparently details a lot of why that he's actually not a good guy and he's like a bad guy when it comes to the Eternals. And of course, if you don't know who Icarus is, he is the Eternal played by Richard Madden, and he is essentially the Superman of the group. He's the guy that can fly. He's the guy that shoots laser beams out of his eyes, and he has super strength. He basically can't die by anything that isn't more powerful than him. Which, I mean, of course, that would make sense. And if there's nothing more powerful than him, it's not going to kill him. So basically, the Eternals, they can't kill him. And that is one of the main driving points to why he, being a villain in the end, was actually a lot more, menacing. Because, again, he's basically Superman. He is Superman. He is the MCU's version of Superman. And so it turns out that he's a bad guy, and he ends up killing one of the other Eternals, Salma Hayek's character, Ajax, or is it Ajax? I think it's Ajax, who is who's the leader of the Eternals. He kills her, and I was like, wow, I did not see that coming. Oh, and by the way, there are 3 deaths in this movie from the Eternal side. Ajax does meet her end by Icarus's hand. Icarus himself, we're getting into the end of the movie. He does end up dying himself as well. He actually commits suicide by literally flying himself into the sun. And I thought that was just, I mean, wow. I never would have thought I would have seen that. And it's kind of weird because I guess, in a way, that's probably the only thing that could have defeated him, was just driving himself into something that is infinitely more powerful than he is, which is the sun. The sun is extremely hot, and it kills anything because it's a star. It's a star, so of course that's going to be what kills him. Not even Thor could probably last that, and he's a god. What else? Oh yes, and there's another Eternal that does ultimately come to an end, and that is Gilgamesh, played by Don Lee, who is an actor not many people know about. He's more in the South Korean side of film. If you don't know or remember who he is, he's actually the big guy from Train to Busan. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but he's that guy from Train to Busan who's like the big muscular type who is always like pushing his way through the zombies in that movie. And he brought one of the more emotional parts of that film, if you've seen Train to Busan. And I thought he was really good. He unfortunately does meet his end in this movie, which is really sad because he did have a good moment. And I thought he was a character that you could understand the type of development that he got, but he wasn't explored as much as many of the other Eternals were. Because basically, the Eternals that you follow the most in this movie are Icarus, Gemma Chan's character, Gemma Chan's Eternal, which is Cersei. She's basically the main lead of the film. She's not exactly the leader of the Eternals, but she's the main lead of the film. She basically is the one that gets the most following, and she's actually the one in the end that actually ends up winning the entire final battle for everybody, because her power is that she can turn things to matter, and she was basically the one that had the only amount of power to kill the Celestial that was going to be unearthed from the Earth and destroy it. So she was mainly being followed. And another actor in this movie, by the way, who doesn't really get a lot of screen time, and I kind of didn't know if I liked that or didn't like that, was Kit Harington, who plays the Black Knight. Now, he's not referred to as the Black Knight in the movie. He's got like a more human name, but he is the eternal Black Knight. And he's only in the movie for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. He's not really in it a whole lot. For a 2.5-hour movie, by the way. So everybody gets their fair share of screen time. And so when it comes to spoilers, when it comes to deaths, those are the only 3 Eternals that do unfortunately meet their end. It's going to suck not seeing Don Lee or Richard Madden or Selma Hayek in these movies anymore, because those 3 are actually really, really good actors. I really like Richard Madden. He's in a lot of stuff. Selma Hayek, who is, I think she's the oldest of all the actors. When it comes to the actors, I think she's the oldest now. She's in her 50s. And she brings a lot to every movie that she's in. She's a really good actor. So it's going to suck not seeing them anymore in the MCU, because I don't really think that they're going to make a return. I don't know why they would have to, because they do die. I mean, Icarus literally flew himself into the sun. I don't think he's going to make a return. So, yeah. So that's what happens. And again, in the end, so now we're getting to the end of the movie. And of course, also, let me just say this too. The build up to get to the end, this movie, again, as I said in my non-spoiler review, I kind of put it as the title. The movie is basically an MCU history lesson. And the first 2 acts of the movie are basically the showing of everything that made up the MCU, because that's what the Eternals are. That's what these characters are. They are the ones who created the entirety of what the MCU is, because of course they were born, or they were brought on Earth in, like, I think it was 5000 BC. So they are very, very old characters. They're the oldest characters in the entirety of the MCU, and they're the ones who started it all. And so that's what the first 2 acts of the movie are. It's basically a history lesson going from flashbacks into the old times to present day, like showing where all these characters are and where that they've gone and how they've seen humanity grow, because again, they're the ones who created it all and basically pushed it forward to where we are now in, again, present day time. And again, that's like another thing. I saw a lot of people. Another guy, the same guy I keep mentioning, whose review I watched. He said there was no character development in the movie. Okay, look, I can understand you not liking the movie for certain reasons, but when you give out really dumb critiques like the movie has no character development, or the acting is terrible, or the movie is boring, which I'll be a little lenient on the boring part. I can understand why people are saying it's boring, but if you say something like the acting is terrible and there's no character development, you didn't watch this movie, and I think you're just saying that to say that. I really do believe that. There is a lot of character development in this movie. For 2.5 hours, there is plenty of character development to really flesh out these characters, even again, if it wasn't as much as we wanted. Because another thing I like to say that I've seen some people say is that they wish that this movie, instead of being a movie, would have been its own Disney Plus series, like a bunch of the television shows that we've gotten. And to some degree, I sort of agree with that. I do sort of agree with that in a way. But again, for me, I did like what we got with the movie form for this MCU run with these characters. I thought the movie was pretty fine for what we got. So that's what the first 2 acts was, and then the third act was the final battle between Icarus, the Eternals, and then the Celestial, whose name I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I forgot his name. There's the Celestial inside the Earth. They have to fight each other, and they have to stop him from unearthing from the Earth and destroying it all and killing off all humanity. And they end up defeating him and Icarus, and the movie basically ends. Or actually, no, it doesn't end, because we get one final scene where 3 Eternals, who I'm going to name off right now, Gemma Chan's Cersei, Kumail Nanjiani's Kingo, and then Leah McHugh's Sprite, get taken up by the Eternal Erisham, who is still alive, and he's watching everything happen. He takes them and goes somewhere. Now, there's this thing called I think it's called the Forge. I forgot the full name, but the Forge is a part of the name. He's basically, from what I've seen, he takes these 3 Eternals back with him there, and characters of and the other Eternals who are left alive, like Angelina Jolie's Athena, Barry Keoghan's Druig, and then Lauren Ridloff's Makari, along with Brian Tyree Henry's Fastos. They are the last ones who are on the planet, and they didn't get taken away, and so they have to try and find out what happened to them. And Kit Harington, the last shot is of Kit Harington looking around like, what is going on? Because, of course, he is with Gemma Chan's Cersei. They are together in like a romantic relationship. So that's how the movie ends. And then finally, guys, the last thing we are talking about for this spoiler-filled review is the post-credit scene and the mid-credit scene. Okay, so the mid-credit scene. Let me just say this right now, and I want to know if you guys agree with me. That mid-credit scene is maybe the last thing on the entirety of planet Earth that I ever thought I would see the mid-credit scene for this film be. And yes, you're hearing it right. Harry damn Styles. Harry Styles is in the MCU now. I never in my entirety of my life would have thought I would see Harry Styles in an MCU movie. So basically, the scene starts with the 4 Eternals that I just listed off who are left alive and like on Earth still. Apparently, another Eternal came into their ship with this goblin. So this is where the CGI problem that I had comes into play. This goblin-like character, this like goblin thing or whatever, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a it's like this tiny goblin person. I don't even know what to call it. I don't even know what I was looking at. Basically, it was not great CGI, but it was kind of like a jokey character, and apparently he is voiced by a famous comedian who I'm not really remembering the name of right now. But then Harry Styles' character teleports onto their ship and is wearing like Eternals like garbs and like an outfit like the Eternals wore, and apparently the name is Star Fox, and this character is also apparently the brother of Thanos. Yes, the Thanos from Infinity War and Endgame. That Thanos. That's his brother. And I'm like, whoa, this just got interesting. And look, Harry Styles being in the MCU is just, again, it's something that I never thought in my life that I'd ever see. And now we get to the post-credit scene, which is of Kit Harington's character, who of course is the Black Knight. He opens this box only to find a sword. Now, his character, the Black Knight, is a sword-wielding Eternal. I think he's a fighting type Eternal, because of the 10 Eternals that there are, there's 5 fighting types, and then there's 5 thinking types, as they are classified as. I guess he is also a fighting type, and he's got this sword in this box that he opens up, and he touches it, and this voice comes on screen. And when I heard that voice, and I heard it was Mahershala Ali, who is playing the character of Blade. Yes, Blade. I was like, wow. Again, I was not expecting that to be the post-credit scene of this movie. I was losing it inside. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. Because, of course, we're getting Blade sooner, very, very soon. I think around 2023 is when we're getting Blade. Or at least that's when it's slated to come out. We're getting Blade in 2023, and of course Blade is going to be played by the legend Mahershala Ali, who has been a really good actor in the film industry for a very long time. He's won an Oscar, and I cannot wait for that movie. I was not expecting his voice to come on screen. I really wasn't. And apparently, I guess the Black Knight, of course, Kit Harington's character, and his character, Mahershala Ali's Blade, apparently they work together a lot in the comics. So that is going to be a very interesting dynamic. I cannot wait to see that. But guys, that was a lot. I have nothing more to say about this movie. Again, like I said in the non-spoiler review, I don't think this movie I don't think it garners what the critics who don't like it are garnering. I don't think it's a 50% by any means to the critics who don't like it. I think this movie, to me, it's going to remain a 7.5 out of 10 for me. I think it's one of the more lower tier films, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie, but it is on the lower tier of the list of 26 movies that we have gotten so far. Again, not a bad movie. I liked it. So yeah. Guys, I got nothing more to say. So we got one more to go. We have one more MCU film to go for the year that is 2021, and that is Spider-Man No Way Home. there is not another movie coming out for the rest of this year that I want to see more than anything else, because November is basically going to be a stale month for the rest of November. I don't think I'm going to go and see Ghostbusters Afterlife. I know that's going to come as a shock because the movie doesn't really interest me, and I also have not seen every single Ghostbusters movie. That's something I got to do on my list and go back and watch. I have not seen every Ghostbusters movie. So I don't necessarily think I'm going to go watch that, so I might not do a review for it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know yet. We'll have to see. That movie's a couple of weeks away. So December's around the corner, and December usually always has a lot of movies, and we're getting No Way Home on December 17th. I cannot wait. It's perfect timing. I'm so excited. I hope you guys are excited too. Guys, drop your comments down below in the comment section. What did you guys think of the movie in spoiler talk? Because now you guys can talk about spoilers. What did you think of the movie in spoiler talk? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Talk about spoilers. Talk about theories that you also may have for the upcoming MCU slate of films that we're getting and TV shows. And also, I forgot to mention, yes, we are getting another MCU property before No Way Home comes out, and that's Hawkeye. We're getting that show. And I think I'm going to do an episode-by-episode review of that show when it does release. So be sure to stay tuned for that, guys. I can't wait for Hawkeye as well. So again, comment down below what you thought. Hit that like and subscribe, and turn on that notification bell if you enjoy this video. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Have a good rest of your day, guys. Peace out.